everyone, what's up? I'm Dylan Randazzo. Welcome to the Dyl Pickle Movie Network. If you can't tell by my voice, I have been very sick the past few days and I don't really know where it came from. It kind of came out of nowhere. I did go away on vacation last week, came back, everything seemed fine. Then a few days later, bam, I got sick. But I did make a promise last month, and that is because so many people have been asking me to review all these big movies from the summer. Like, what were your thoughts on Furiosa and Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes, and even some of the smaller films like the one we're going to be talking about today. And I said, you know what? I'll save it till August because, as you know, if you've been watching on the channel, June and July I dedicated to the retrospective, looking back at films from 10 years ago. But it is August, and the retrospective is over, and we still have a few more videos to release for the retrospective. But I figured, you know what? Why don't I play catch up and review a lot of these summer movies? That's why I got my Jaws shirt on, because I love a good summer blockbuster, but I also love a lot of these great indies that come out in the summer, because usually they're films from festivals that played either late last year or earlier this year. Movies like Hitman that played last year at New York Film Festival and TIFF, and then this film Sing Sing we're going to talk about premiered at TIFF last year. And something like I Saw the TV Glow, which premiered at Sundance earlier this year. Like, all these films that I'm really excited are finally getting seen in a more wide appeal, that I'm very excited to talk about. And I think summer is full of so much great variety, because this is kind of the time of year that everyone wants to put their best stuff forward, not necessarily their most prestige work, but their biggest hits, let's say, because that is going to be the time where you can get kids who are not in school, or adults who are home, young adults who are home from college, or just adults who aren't necessarily working 9 to 5s every day, like teachers, for example, who have a lot of the summer off. So it's very exciting that we get so many great films in the summer, but it's also hard for someone like me who is struggling to keep up with all the films he has to do for other shows on this channel and watch everything that's in theaters and everything coming to streaming, and B, doing it when I am sick. So I do apologize if I do sound a little hoarser than normal. Hopefully by next Monday, I will feel better. As I promised last month, though, I'm going to be doing this every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday of the month. It is Friday. It is August, so we're going to get right into it. And I figured, why not kick it off with a film that is not only hitting wide release this week. Hey guys, Dylan here. A little bit of an amendment to my review here. I never really do this in the editing process, but I did check A24's Instagram page, and actually Sing Sing is going to get its wide release August 16th. They're delaying it a little bit, probably because of Deadpool and Wolverine. It was originally supposed to be August 2nd, and now it's August 16th, so you're going to have to wait a little bit longer for a wide release, but I wanted to get this review out now because this is when I planned on releasing it on its original wide release day, so I'm going to just release the review now, but just letting you know August 16th is the new date. But a film that I think is going to be one that is going to be talked about till the end of the year, because I think right now it is the #1 contender for Best Picture. Now, whenever we talk about Best Picture and we say this is the front runner, a front runner just means the front runner, meaning right now, if you were to look at who's running in front of the crowd, this is the film. That does not mean it is going to win. It is not even going to get nominated. Who's to say 10 more films might come out at the end of the year that could just engulf this one? I mean, it's really hard to tell. But right now, based on the reception at TIFF last year, based on the pretty much positive across the board reception, having now released in some smaller markets and now expanding into wide release, which I hope more people get to see it and love it. I think there's a good chance Sing Sing is going to be one of those movies we're talking about till the end of the year. I could be wrong. I said this about Past Lives last year, and while it did hold on and get a nomination and it got some recognition at the Oscars, it didn't get an overwhelming amount. It didn't win any Oscars, but you never know. And I think Sing Sing is one of those films that just kind of ticks every single box when you're looking at an Oscar contender. But the good news is it doesn't feel like Oscar bait, and I think that's kind of the beauty of Sing Sing. What is Sing Sing, you may be asking? Good question, because not everyone was at TIFF, not everyone has seen it in limited release, and some of you all may not have even heard of it. So I'm going to tell you right now, it's a film directed by Greg Quadar, who is the writer, co-writer of the movie Jockey that came out a few years ago. His co-writer, Clint Bentley, is the producer and co-writer on this film as well. He likes to kind of hold up this microscope to some more underprivileged or some very smaller, very niche parts of the world that might not always have focus on them. In this case, he is looking at the Sing Sing prison, and looking at this group of inmates who kind of, I guess they don't start a theater company because it's already been established when the film starts, but you kind of look at them in the midst of this kind of recreational theater community they built at this prison. That's kind of it. This doesn't go through a bunch of like very dynamic twists and turns. It's not necessarily about its story. It's more so about just watching these guys come together and putting on this one play that they all kind of write together and kind of put their imagination and brain into all together. It's basically like Waiting for Guffman, but not as funny, and Shawshank Redemption without the big like escape plot. It's just a bunch of these guys learning how to come together and just become better people and learn what it means to be a human and what it means to connect with others and what it means to look at the world when you're in such a different headspace and what it means to mature and just kind of reflect on your life till then and your past, but also look forward to your future and set goals and ambitions to your future, but also seeing it through the lens of theater and what theater does to a community. And if you have not, partaken in a theatrical group or even seeing theater, it is one of the most healing, connective art forms we have. And I am very fortunate to have been someone who has grown up in the theater community, ever since I was a young kid. When I was 5 years old, my mom signed me up for an audition slot. I had to audition. I didn't get, any free passes here. I had to audition for a production of Charlotte's Web, and I got cast as a Gosling, and it changed my life. And, I don't think a lot of my greatest theatrical memories come from that production, but that is the first production I ever did. And the bug bit me. They always talk about the bug, when you get that bug. And it is quite literally a disease in a way, but a good disease, if there ever is such a thing as a good disease, but this obsession for creating live entertainment. And I think that's something that even film and TV can't always transcend, is this idea of camaraderie. You can get it on a film set, you can get it on a TV set, but once it's, out there, there's not that liveness that there is with theater. There's always a barrier there. But theater, it's living, it's breathing, it's currently evolving with every single minute. Every line delivery every night might be the same, but the way you say it, the volume you say it, the person in the audience that is receiving it is always going to be different. And I always say this to the kids groups that I music direct. I'm a music director in the local New Jersey, New York area. And I always tell them before every show, I say, like, this is not ever going to be the same experience. You were never going to be with this group of people, performing this show with these props and this costume and this audience ever again. Even tomorrow night, if this is opening night, tomorrow night, you're not even gonna have the same audience. So this whole experience is never going to be replicated. But that is what is so beautiful, and that is what is so special, and that is what theater does for us. And I will get off my soapbox now because I'm talking more about theater than I am Sing Sing. But that is what Sing Sing brings to me as a theater person. It makes me think about all the things that theater makes and gives us and creates for us and nourishes for us. And it was one of those movies that immediately from the get-go, just because it's about putting on a play, I was already intrigued. But I think doing so in the confines of this prison where all these men are coming from complete different backgrounds but all have a common thread. They all did something wrong, or were at least accused and sentenced for doing something wrong. And seeing how these guys come together, whether they're innocent or guilty, and especially the ones who are guilty, and see how their whole outlook on life changes from doing this theater production. And Coleman Domingo stars as the lead of this play, John Divine G. Whitfield, who is kind of like the leader of the pack. He's the one who gets all the best roles. He's the best actor of the group, not just in real life, but in the confines of this prison. His character is the best actor. He's the one who writes a lot of the screenplays. The plays. They're not screenplays. The plays that they put on. And then Paul Raci plays kind of the guy who directs them. So he is not a prisoner. He is someone who kind of comes into the prison and puts on this play with them, directs them, and again, molds them to be better people in the process. But all the other actors, I think most, if not all of the other actors, are real life inmates, previous inmates who have went through the process, whether it be Sing Sing prison or another prison, because a lot of prisons have kind of adopted this whole program of, performing these plays and musicals for audiences and this growth idea. But these are real men who went through this process and have changed for the better because of this process, literally performing themselves, fictionalized versions of themselves, which is so fun because they're all actors inherently because they've done these shows, but now they get to act as themselves. And I've always said, I think acting like yourself is the hardest thing you can do. It is so easy to pick up a page and try to transform into a character because you can let your imagination run wild. But then when it's you in your own skin and your own shoes, it's like, what do you do now? Like, what is there left to see? What can I elevate to my own self and sense of self and identity? And I think that's what's so fascinating is all these actors really just take it with such stride and just kill it. They are so good. Clarence Macklin in particular, who I think is definitely going to get a supporting actor nomination at this point. I mean, I would be very shocked if he didn't. And again, I'm talking about Oscars way ahead of time, but I really think this is one of those films that's just going to hold on to the end of the year. Clarence Macklin is one of the main roles and has a lot to do in this film. And he's not an actor. He is an actor by the Sing Sing standards. He's gone through, this theater program, but he is not a trained professional Hollywood actor. Yet, I think because of that, it makes it all the more raw, all the more emotional, all the more impactful. And seeing the scenes between him and Coleman Domingo are really fascinating because Coleman Domingo is someone who I think, as an actor, is getting to be a little bit showier in his role, but also because he's surrounded by these real people who are just in their own roles, he's able to kind of find this humanity and empathy in his own self in this performance. And I think it's his best work to date too. And right now, I'm going to call it, I would put money down right now that he's going to not only get nominated, but might win Best Actor. Like, I really do think his performance, Coleman Domingo's and Clarence Macklin's supporting performance, and even Paul Raci, who is not in the movie as much, his impact is very much a supporting impact. The other two are kind of the leads of this film. But I think, every single actor here brings it. This is a frontrunner for SAG Ensemble, if I've ever seen one, but I don't just want to talk about awards because that's not what this is about. The only reason I bring up awards is because I think it's just going to make a big impact. And that's because it's just a really, really great film. And it's hard sometimes when you're reviewing a film that you love so much because you try to find the flaws. You're trying to think, okay, what are the criticisms? And all I can think about, and this isn't even a personal criticism, is the criticism that people had for Nomadland of, do you really want to write this fictional character, make it the lead of your film, have Coleman Domingo play it, and then have all these real people playing their roles outside of it? Why couldn't they just make this a documentary? And it's the same thing people said about Nomadland. Why wouldn't you just make this a documentary and have these nomads just play themselves? But I think there's something to be said about Sing Sing, particularly in the fact that it is about putting on a musical. I think there's something to be said about these real guys playing versions of themselves on screen, on stage, on screen. It's like a play within a play, essentially. But like, I think that's the magic of it, is that you have these real actors and these men who are not trained professional actors, but all kind of coming together and putting on this beautiful hodgepodge, which is what the movie is about too. It's about all these different walks of life coming together and making something beautiful. I loved Nomadland because I think Frances McDormand's performance is so good that I didn't mind the fact that it wasn't a documentary. But I think here especially, you could make a documentary, but I think the fact that these actors who have literally gone through this process are getting to play themselves is another acting challenge for these guys whose acting saved their lives, essentially made them better people, reformed a lot of these guys' views, and made them more humane in general. And I think that's something so cool. Essentially, their way of paying it forward and showing this is how we've grown is now coming full circle and playing yourself, playing that role. I think it's brilliant. I think it is one of those brilliant films. And yes, there's a great documentary that can be made for this. And I actually think a good companion piece would be another film coming out this summer that played at Sundance, which is Daughters, which is a documentary about these guys trying to put on a father-daughter dance at their prison. I think this goes a little bit further. There's a lot more drama in this one because they do have to write some fights and some falling outs and betrayals. There's a really sad death that happens in this film. Again, they are going for those moments of drama because, that's kind of the akin to Shawshank Redemption that I mentioned earlier. It's like, it still has a bunch of these like really beautiful vignettes of these different prisoners and inmates and what they bring to each other's lives and what they do outside of the prison once they are free. And that whole struggle, I mean, the whole struggle with Coleman Domingo's character is that he's presumably not guilty, but wrongfully accused, and how he's trying to go through the process of being free and getting out of jail. That is a really empowering, impactful performance as well, and arc as well. But that's the thing, is this movie has so much going on, but it is still connected by this theatrical piece. And the theatrical piece is also very, very entertaining, very funny. There's this one guy who's like, literally like, I want to put on a mummy play about ancient Egypt. And there's another guy who's like, oh, we should do time travel. And then another guy who's like, I want Freddy Krueger to be in the film. That's why I have my little Freddy Krueger back here, because I wanted to represent him, because he's very well represented in this film. But it's that idea of like all these different kind of ideas coming together. And Paul Raci says, well, I'll just write a play with all that. Why not? And Coleman Domingo at first is like, I don't know how I feel about that. And the thing is, a lesser movie, I think, would have gone either further with the comedy to where it doesn't take itself as seriously. But the good thing about Sing Sing is it doesn't go extremely far into the comedy. The comedy still feels very raw and genuine. And we laugh a lot because it is funny. There's funny stuff going on here, but it doesn't take away from the overall message of it and the empowerment of it also, which I think is beautiful. And then they also kind of play a little bit earlier on with the rivalry between Coleman Domingo's character and another actor who kind of comes into the troupe and is kind of a little bit more rambunctious, a little bit more rebellious. And I thought the whole film was going to be like that. I thought it was going to be like an All About Eve thing, and I think the film would have lost me if that was the route it took as well. But they kind of connect and click almost halfway into the film, and then the rest of the film ends up being more about Coleman Domingo's personal journey rather than this rivalry with this another actor. And I think that's another power that this film has too. It doesn't necessarily want to be about the drama. It has a lot of drama. It has a lot of great, gripping, emotional, Oscar baity, I guess you could say, scenes. But all in all, it's still very grounded. It's very lived in. It feels like you were literally a fly on the wall, which is why people will probably say it should have been a documentary. But I think the beauty of it that is beyond a documentary is that it is these actual actors who have gone through this process of this prison, of this acting program, this reform program, and have come back to play themselves. I think that is just such a cool, like, full circle kismet moment. Another play reference, but I really do think this is one of the most beautiful films, and it could have taken so many different avenues to be more conventional, to be more crowd pleasing, but in its stillness, in its empathy, in its rawness, in its emotion, it is even more crowd pleasing than it would have been if it had tried. And I think that's the best type of filmmaking, is when it doesn't set out to be crowd pleasing, but it just is because it's just that good. And the more I talk about it, the more I'm like, you know what, this may be a 5-star film. And I don't like to give ratings here on my reviews because reviews are so fluid that, tomorrow I could wake up and be like, was it that good? But the more I'm talking about it, I'm like, there is literally no flaw I can find in Sing Sing. And I really think if I watch it again, it'll get there to 5 stars. I gave it 4.5 on Letterboxd because everyone needs to know the score. But I really do think this is a film that, with more viewings, I think I'll love even more. And I hope for people who don't have theater in their communities, this inspires them to maybe create theater, because theater is something that could be created for free. I mean, yes, it would help to have a budget. It would help to have costumes and lights and rights to actual musicals that exist. But hey, if you have a bunch of friends and you want to write a script and perform it for people for free with no costumes, no lights, and just put it on, that's free. That's free entertainment, free nourishment. And I think this is a good advocate that theater can be this connective tissue for all. And I really think with all this division in the world, not just in the United States of America, but so many other places in the world, I think something like Sing Sing can remind us that division is scary and that we can find something to come together with. And I think theater could be that healing that we might need in the world, at least part of it, for some people. And I love it. I love it so much. I'm sick, but I wanted to stay true to my word and give you a review every day, and give you a review for this film in particular because it's hitting wide release this weekend. And I really hope people go see it. So I am hopped up on some meds to clear up my sinuses and clear up my throat and whatever else is ailing me. But I hope I made a good enough case for you to go heal your souls with Sing Sing. It is a beautiful film. And if you've seen it, let me know in the comments below what you thought. I don't know what the next review I'm going to be doing is. I think next week I'm going to devote it to horror. I think I'm going to talk about I Saw the TV Glow because it's just been at the tip of my tongue for months now, and I want to tell you about it. God damn it. And then I also want to talk to you about Trap, which just came out in theaters this weekend. I'm excited to see it soon. And also the other Shyamalan film this summer from Shyamalan's daughter, which is The Watchers. And, there are some other long-legged horror films to talk about as well. Maybe next week will be horror. I'm going to devote next week to horror. I'm deciding it now. I don't know which day is going to be which films, but you'll have to stay tuned. That's part of the surprise. I'm sure you'll see. But thank you so much. Let me know. Let me know what you thought of Sing Sing. I'm going to go rest, drink some water. Everyone hydrate. But thank you guys so much. And if you love theater, let me know why also in the comments below, because I love hearing people's theater stories, how you got started in theater, what your first experience with theater was, whether you saw it. Also, there's a lot of great filmed theater out there. If you search for any Sondheim musical on YouTube, you'll probably be able to find it. Go find theater. Go support theater. But also know that theater can heal you if you need that help. And if you feel like this movie would be your thing, go check it out and let me know what you thought. Thanks so much. And I will see you next week for some more summer catch up here on the Dyl Pickle Movie Network, hopefully with a better voice to tell you about them. Thanks so much, and take care.